You may look healthy in the mirror, remain independent, and believe that aging has mainly changed your skin, hair, or body shape. But one of the most important age-related changes may be developing where you cannot see it. It is happening inside your blood vessels. Your blood vessels deliver oxygen and nutrients to every organ, muscle, and tissue. When they respond properly, your brain receives the blood it needs to think clearly. Your muscles are supplied during movement, and your heart can maintain circulation without unnecessary strain. As you grow older, however, your blood vessels may gradually become less responsive. They may not relax and widen as efficiently as they once did, and this change can begin long before an obvious cardiovascular problem appears. Sometimes the possible warning signs seem so ordinary that people blame them entirely on age. You may tire more quickly, notice that your legs feel heavy during a walk, or need longer to recover after physical activity. Some people also experience cold hands and feet, or difficulty concentrating. These symptoms do not necessarily mean that you have poor circulation. Fatigue, weakness, cold extremities, and mental fog can also be associated with anemia, thyroid problems, medication effects, sleep disorders, and many other conditions. Persistent or worsening symptoms should be discussed with a healthcare professional. But circulation is still an important part of healthy aging. I am Dr. James Carter, and in this video, we will examine 5 familiar foods that may help support the health and responsiveness of your blood vessels. One contains deeply colored plant compounds. Another is a food many people assume they must avoid. A third supplies natural dietary nitrate, while another provides soluble fiber that can support cholesterol and the bacteria living in your gut. Before discussing those foods, we need to understand what healthy blood vessels actually do. They are not rigid pipes that simply carry blood. They are living, responsive structures that constantly adapt to your body's needs. When you stand, they respond to gravity. When you walk, they help send more oxygen to your muscles. After a meal, circulation helps distribute absorbed nutrients. When your brain becomes active, it also requires an appropriate blood supply. Healthy vessels can narrow or widen as those demands change. This ability is sometimes described as vascular resilience. Age may gradually reduce that resilience, but the rate of change is influenced by more than your birthday. Physical activity, smoking, blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, sleep, diet, genetics, and medical conditions all play a role. No food can make aging disappear or erase established cardiovascular disease. However, consistent habits can help support the biological systems that keep your circulation functioning. One of the most important of those systems begins with an extremely thin layer of cells lining the inside of every blood vessel. This delicate inner lining is called the endothelium. Rather than acting as a passive covering, it produces signals that help regulate blood vessel relaxation, blood pressure, inflammation, and clotting. One of its most important signals is nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a molecule produced naturally within the body. It tells the smooth muscle surrounding a blood vessel to relax. As the muscle relaxes, the vessel can widen, allowing blood to travel more easily and helping oxygen reach tissues that need it. Imagine walking up a flight of stairs. Your leg muscles suddenly require more oxygen. A healthy endothelium helps the vessels supplying those muscles respond. Similar adjustments take place when parts of your brain become active or your digestive system processes a meal. With age, endothelial function may become less efficient. The body may have less available nitric oxide, and the artery may not widen as effectively when demand increases. Oxidative stress and chronic inflammation can contribute to this decline. Other factors can accelerate the process. High blood pressure repeatedly places force on the vessel wall. Elevated blood sugar can damage the endothelium over time. Smoking exposes blood vessels to harmful chemicals, while unhealthy cholesterol levels can contribute to plaque formation within the artery wall. Arterial disease is more complex than a blocked household pipe. It involves cholesterol-containing particles, inflammation, immune activity, and gradual changes in the vessel wall. It cannot be washed away with juice, supplements, or a single superfood. For that reason, food must not replace medical care. If you have high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease, or a history of stroke, continue taking prescribed medication unless the clinician managing your care tells you otherwise. Food still matters, but it works as part of a larger pattern. Some foods provide polyphenols, plant compounds that may support endothelial function and the body's defenses against oxidative stress. Others provide dietary nitrate, which the body can use through a series of steps related to nitric oxide production. Soluble fiber can support healthier cholesterol levels and nourish beneficial intestinal bacteria. The effects are usually gradual rather than dramatic. You should not expect one meal to make you feel your arteries opening. The real value comes from eating beneficial foods consistently while remaining active, avoiding tobacco, sleeping adequately, and managing blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar. Now that the basic mechanism is clear, we can move from biology to the dinner table. The first food is naturally sweet, easy to store in your freezer, and identified by its deep blue color. That color comes from plant compounds that may help support the delicate lining of your blood vessels. The first food is blueberries. Their deep color comes from anthocyanins, natural plant compounds that may support the endothelium and help protect it from oxidative stress. They may also support the biological signals involved in nitric oxide production, allowing blood vessels to respond more effectively when your muscles, brain, or other tissues need additional blood. Researchers often assess this response with a measurement called flow-mediated dilation. In simple terms, it examines how well an artery widens when blood flow increases. Studies suggest that regularly consuming blueberries may produce modest improvements in this aspect of vascular function. This does not mean blueberries can clean blocked arteries or reverse cardiovascular disease. Their benefit comes from including them consistently as part of a balanced diet. Fresh and frozen blueberries are both useful options. Freezing preserves many of their plant compounds, so you do not need to buy expensive fresh berries throughout the year. You can add them to plain yogurt, oatmeal, or a breakfast smoothie without added sugar. Around 1 cup is a practical serving for many adults, although individual needs may differ. Choose whole blueberries more often than blueberry juice, muffins, or flavored snacks. A product can display berries on the package while containing little fruit and a large amount of added sugar. The second food may surprise you: dark chocolate. The ingredient that matters here is cacao, which contains compounds called flavonols. Cacao flavonols have been studied for their potential to support nitric oxide signaling, endothelial function, and healthy blood vessel relaxation. However, not all chocolate provides the same benefits. Milk chocolate and many chocolate candies contain more sugar and less cacao. If you enjoy chocolate, consider choosing a product with approximately 70% cacao or more and keeping the portion small, perhaps 1 or 2 squares. A higher cacao percentage does not guarantee a specific amount of flavonols because processing methods vary between products. Dark chocolate is also calorie-dense and may contain enough caffeine to affect sleep in sensitive people. It should therefore be treated as a modest addition to a healthy diet, not as medicine or an unlimited snack. Blueberries and cacao primarily provide polyphenols. The next food supports circulation through a different pathway. It contains natural nitrate, and the first stage of converting that nitrate begins inside your mouth. The third food is beets, also known as beetroot. Beets naturally contain dietary nitrate. When you chew them, bacteria living in your mouth convert some of that nitrate into nitrite. After it is swallowed, the body continues the process, and some nitrite can eventually contribute to nitric oxide formation. This nitrate, nitrite, nitric oxide pathway supports the signals that help blood vessels relax. It is one reason beetroot has been studied for possible effects on blood pressure, circulation, and exercise performance. The effect is not immediate or identical for everyone. It can vary according to a person's health, fitness, diet, medications, and the amount consumed. Beets should support an overall healthy pattern rather than be used as a treatment for vascular disease. They can be roasted, boiled, added to salads, or included in soups. Whole beets also provide fiber and are generally more satisfying than juice. Beetroot juice is convenient, but it delivers its natural sugars more quickly because much of the fiber has been removed. Large quantities or concentrated beet supplements are not necessary for most people. Beets are not the only source of dietary nitrate. Spinach, arugula, lettuce, and other leafy greens can also support this pathway. This gives you several options if you dislike the earthy flavor of beetroot. Because oral bacteria participate in nitrate conversion, some researchers have examined whether powerful antibacterial mouthwashes can temporarily interfere with this process. However, This is not a reason to neglect oral hygiene or stop a prescribed product. If your dentist has recommended an antiseptic mouthwash, continue using it as directed unless they advise otherwise. You may also notice pink or red urine or stool after eating beets. This is often a harmless effect of the natural pigments. Nevertheless, unexplained or persistent blood in the urine or stool should never automatically be blamed on food and should be medically assessed. People with low blood pressure, kidney disease, a history of certain kidney stones, or multiple blood pressure medications should ask a healthcare professional before using concentrated beetroot products. So far, we have discussed foods that support endothelial signaling and nitric oxide, but healthy circulation also depends on controlling cholesterol and protecting the artery wall over time. The fourth food addresses that side of vascular health through a particular type of soluble fiber, beta-glucan. That food is barley. Barley may not attract as much attention as colorful berries or dark chocolate, but it provides something extremely valuable for vascular health: soluble fiber. The main type of soluble fiber in barley is called beta-glucan. When beta-glucan reaches your digestive system, it forms a thick gel-like substance. This can reduce the amount of cholesterol-containing material absorbed and encourage the body to use more circulating cholesterol to produce bile acids. Over time, regularly consuming enough soluble fiber may help lower LDL cholesterol. LDL is often called bad cholesterol because high levels can increase the number of cholesterol-containing particles entering the artery wall. This can contribute to inflammation and plaque formation. Barley cannot remove established plaque or prevent every heart attack or stroke. However, replacing some refined grains with fiber-rich foods can support healthier cholesterol levels and improve the overall quality of your diet. Beta-glucan also provides food for certain beneficial bacteria in your gut. As these bacteria ferment fiber, they produce substances called short-chain fatty acids. These compounds help maintain the intestinal barrier and participate in the regulation of inflammation and metabolism. This gut connection matters because the digestive and cardiovascular systems do not operate independently. What happens in the gut can influence blood sugar, cholesterol, inflammation, and other factors connected with vascular health. Barley is easy to include in soups, stews, and grain bowls. You can also use it to replace part of the white rice or other refined grains in a meal. Because it has a firm texture and takes time to cook, preparing several portions in advance may make it easier to use throughout the week. Increase your fiber intake gradually. Adding too much too quickly can cause bloating, gas, or abdominal discomfort. Drink an appropriate amount of water unless your healthcare team has given you a fluid restriction. Barley contains gluten, so it is unsuitable for people with celiac disease and may not be appropriate for certain other gluten-related conditions. Oats can provide beta-glucan as an alternative, although people with celiac disease should choose oats specifically labeled gluten-free. Barley supports circulation differently from the foods discussed earlier. Rather than focusing mainly on nitric oxide, it helps address cholesterol, gut health, and the conditions that influence the artery wall over time. The final food is far more familiar. You may already keep it on your kitchen counter, but one of its most valuable parts is often peeled away and discarded. The fifth food is the apple. Apples contain several plant compounds, including quercetin and other polyphenols. They also provide fiber, with a meaningful portion located in or close to the skin. Together, these components may support antioxidant defenses, gut health, and the long-term maintenance of cardiovascular function. Oxidative stress occurs when unstable molecules overwhelm the body's ability to control them. Over time, excessive oxidative stress can damage cells, including those in the blood vessel lining. Polyphenols from apples and other plant foods may help support the body's natural defenses against this process. The fiber in apples provides another benefit. Some of it reaches the large intestine, where it can be used by gut bacteria. It can also help slow digestion and make the fruit more satisfying than apple juice. This difference between whole fruit and juice is important. When you eat an apple, its structure and fiber slow the process and require you to chew. Juice is consumed much faster, contains little fiber, and may deliver the natural sugars of several apples in a single glass. Whenever possible, choose the whole fruit. Wash it thoroughly under clean running water and consider eating the skin if you can chew and digest it comfortably. You do not need to buy organic apples to receive nutritional benefits, and you should not wash fruit with soap or household cleaning products. If chewing is difficult, slice the apple thinly, grate it, or cook it until soft. The goal is to find a form that is safe and comfortable. rather than avoiding the fruit completely. Apples are not a treatment for blocked arteries, nor can they repair the damage caused by a heart attack or stroke. Their benefit comes from replacing less nutritious snacks and contributing fiber and polyphenols to a varied diet. We have now examined 5 foods that support vascular health through several different pathways. Blueberries and cacao provide polyphenols. Beets and leafy greens contribute dietary nitrate. Barley supplies beta-glucan, while apples combine polyphenols with fiber. You do not need to eat all 5 every day, and none of them is powerful enough to compensate for smoking, inactivity, uncontrolled blood pressure, or an otherwise poor diet. Their value comes from how they fit into your routine over time. Knowing which foods may help is only the first step. The final question is how to use them without making your diet expensive, restrictive, or unnecessarily complicated. In the final part, I will show you a simple way to include these foods while also explaining which warning signs should never be managed with dietary changes alone. You do not need to eat all 5 foods every day. A more realistic approach is to include them at different times throughout the week. You might add frozen blueberries to oatmeal or plain yogurt at breakfast. On another day, include roasted beets or nitrate-rich leafy greens with lunch or dinner. Barley can replace part of the refined grains in a soup or stew, while a whole apple makes a convenient snack. If dark chocolate suits your health needs, enjoy 1 or 2 small squares rather than treating the entire bar as a serving. The objective is variety and consistency, not perfection. These foods may support different aspects of vascular health, but they work best within a broader pattern. Regular physical activity helps blood vessels maintain their ability to respond. Avoiding tobacco protects the endothelium from repeated chemical injury. Adequate sleep, balanced meals, and appropriate control of blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar are equally important. If you take medication for hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease, or another condition, do not stop or reduce it because you have changed your diet. Food can complement medical treatment, but it cannot replace medication when that medication is necessary. It is also important to recognize when dietary changes are not the appropriate response. Seek urgent medical help if you develop sudden chest pressure, severe shortness of breath, fainting, or pain spreading to your arm, back, neck, or jaw. Sudden weakness or numbness on one side of the body, facial drooping, difficulty speaking, confusion, loss of balance, or a severe unexplained headache may be signs of a stroke. A leg or foot that suddenly becomes painful, unusually cold, pale, blue, or numb can also indicate a serious circulation problem. These symptoms require immediate medical attention, not beetroot juice, supplements, or another home remedy. For everyday prevention, begin with one manageable change. You might buy frozen blueberries this week, use barley in your next soup, or replace a sweetened drink with a whole apple. Once that habit feels natural, add another. Small choices may appear insignificant when viewed separately, but repeated over months and years, they can become part of a lifestyle that supports your heart, brain, muscles, and circulation. Aging may be visible in the mirror, but some of its most important changes happen far beneath the surface. You cannot directly see your endothelium or feel nitric oxide being produced. What you can do is create better conditions for those systems through the choices you make consistently. I am Dr. James Carter. If you found this explanation helpful, subscribe to the channel for more practical, evidence-based guidance on healthy aging. And remember, no single food can make your blood vessels young again, but a healthier pattern, followed consistently, can help protect the circulation your entire body depends on.